Awareness by Anthony DeMello. Stripping down to the I. I suggest another exercise now. Would you write down on a piece of paper any brief way you would describe yourself? For example, businessman, priest, human being, Catholic, Jew, anything. Some write, I notice, things like fruitful, searching pilgrim, competent, alive, impatient, centered, flexible, reconciler, lover, member of the human race, overly structured. This is the fruit, I trust, of observing yourself, as if you were watching another person. But notice, you've got I observing me. This is an interesting phenomenon that has never ceased to cause wonder to philosophers, mystics, scientists, psychologists, that the I can observe the me. It would seem that animals are not able to do this at all. It would seem that one needs a certain amount of intelligence to be able to do this. What I'm going to give you now is not metaphysics. It is not philosophy. It is plain observation and common sense. The great mystics of the East are really referring to that I, not to the me. As a matter of fact, some of these mystics tell us that we begin first with things, with an awareness of things, then we move on to an awareness of thoughts, that's the me, and finally we get to awareness of the thinker. Things, thoughts, thinker. What we're really searching for is the thinker. Can the thinker know himself? Can I know what I is? Some of these mystics reply, can the knife cut itself? Can the tooth bite itself? Can the eye see itself? Can the I know itself? But I am concerned with something infinitely more practical right now, and that is with deciding what the I is not. I'll go as slowly as possible because the consequences are devastating, terrific, or terrifying, depending on your point of view. Listen to this. Am I my thoughts? The thoughts that I'm thinking? No. Thoughts come and go. I'm not my thoughts. Am I my body? They tell us that millions of cells in our body are changed or are renewed every minute, so that by the end of 7 years, we don't have a single living cell in our body that was there 7 years before. Cells come and go. Cells arise and die. But I seems to persist. So am I my body? Evidently not. I is something other and more than the body. You might say the body is part of I, but it is a changing part. It keeps moving. It keeps changing. We have the same name for it, but it constantly changes, just as we have the same name for Niagara Falls. But Niagara Falls is constituted by water that is constantly changing. We use the same name for an ever-changing reality. How about my name? Is I my name? Evidently not. I can change my name without changing the I. How about my career? How about my beliefs? I say I am a Catholic, a Jew. Is that an essential part of I? When I move from one religion to another, has the I changed? Do I have a new I? Or is it the same I that has changed? In other words, is my name an essential part of me, of the I? Is my religion an essential part of the I? I mentioned a little girl who says to the boy, "Are you a Presbyterian?" Well, somebody told me another story about Paddy. Paddy was walking down the street in Belfast, and he discovers a gun pressing against the back of his head. And a voice says, "Are you Catholic or Protestant?" Well, Paddy has to do some pretty fast thinking. He says, "I'm a Jew." And then he hears a voice say, "I've got to be the luckiest Arab in the whole of Belfast." Labels are so important to us. "I am a Republican," we say. But are you really? You can't mean that when you switch parties, you have a new I. Isn't it the same old I with new political convictions? I remember hearing about a man who asks his friend, "Are you planning to vote Republican?" The friend says, "No, I'm planning to vote Democrat. My father was a Democrat, my grandfather was a Democrat, and my great-grandfather was a Democrat." The man says, "That is crazy logic." I mean, if your father was a horse thief, and your grandfather was a horse thief, and your great-great-grandfather was a horse thief, what would you be? And the friend answered, "Then I'd be a Democrat." We spend so much of our lives reacting to labels, our own and others. We identify the labels with the I. Catholic and Protestant are frequent labels. There was a man who went to the priest and said, "Father, I want you to say a mass for my dog." The priest was indignant. "What do you mean, say a mass for your dog?" "It's my pet dog," said the man. "I love that dog, and I'd like for you to offer a mass for him." The priest said, "We don't offer masses for dogs here." "You might try the denomination down the street. Ask them if they might have a service for you." As the man was leaving, he said to the priest, "Too bad. I really love that dog. I was planning to offer $1 million stipend for the mass." And the priest said, wait a minute. You never told me the dog was Catholic." When you're caught up with labels, what value do these labels have as far as the I is concerned? Could we say that I is none of the labels we attach to it? Labels belong to me. What constantly changes is me. Does I ever change? Does the observer ever change? The fact is that no matter what labels you think of, except perhaps human being, you should apply them to me. I is none of these things. So when you step out of yourself and observe me, you no longer identify with me. Suffering exists in me. So when you identify I with me, suffering begins. Say that you are afraid or desirous or anxious. When I does not identify with money, or name, or nationality, or persons, or friends, or any quality, the I is never threatened. It can be very active, but it isn't threatened. Think of anything that caused or is causing you pain or worry or anxiety. First, can you pick up the desire under that suffering? That there's something you desire very keenly, or else you wouldn't be suffering. What is that desire? Second, it isn't simply a desire. There's an identification there. You have somehow said to yourself, the well-being of I, almost the existence of I, is tied up with this desire. All suffering is caused by my identifying myself with something, whether that something is within me or outside of me. Well, there you have it. What's this all about? Well, he's basically talking about trying to figure out what the I is. What is your essence? What is your essence means? What is that unchanging part of you that if you strip away everything else about you, what's left? What is the fundamental core of you? So he says, well, are you your thoughts? Well, hopefully not, because you can change your thoughts. You can evolve your thinking. I'm sure that when I was a very young child, I thought very differently than I thought when I was a teenager, and I thought quite differently when I was a young man. Right now, I'm a middle-aged man, and my thinking evolves. I learn more, I test more ideas, I try to study every side of a problem, and try to determine what to hang on to and what to let go of. I try to determine, as this is how you evolve your thinking, more information comes in, you test it, you test your old thoughts, and you either accept the new thought, reject your old thought, or reject some of the old thought and accept some of the new thought, or reject some of the old thought and accept all of the new thought, or reject the new thought and hang on to the old thought, or hang on to most of the old thought. There's several different things, and this is constantly happening. And the more you come in contact with other ideas and thoughts, the more your thinking can evolve. And a lot of people, unfortunately, exist in what's called an echo chamber. And these days, these echo chambers are getting more and more tight, because what's happening is smaller and smaller subgroups are developing, and people are entering these, and they're talking to people who think the same way they think, and they never really come into contact with ideas outside of their own ideas. And this is very dangerous, because you can get trapped in your thinking, and then you can identify yourself with your thoughts. Same with your religion. You can learn more about your religion and other religions, and you can modify your religious way of thinking and being. You can discard your religion, you can adopt a new religion, or any other choice right there. You could start a new religion. Same with your job. If you identify with your job and your career and then you lose your job, you could be devastated because you've lost your identity. Or your money. I used to have a lot of money. I lost most of my money, and that was very difficult. It was a difficult transition to accept. But fundamentally, whether I had my old job, my old way of thinking, my old money, I'm still here. Fundamentally, I'm still here. I've heard it described by Buckminster Fuller. He said your life is like a rope with a knot, and you can slide the knot along the rope, and the length of your rope is your life, and the knot moves. Is it the same knot? It has different rope molecules all the way along. The molecules are constantly being swapped out, the fibers are being left behind, and new ones are being picked up, and at the end of the rope, the knot disappears, and that's the end of your life. Buckminster Fuller was a great thinker of the last century. Personal hero of mine. But, you know, are you your clothes? Are you your wealth? Are you your friends? You can hang on to your friends. You can reject some of your toxic friends. You don't have to adopt certain things. If you're interested in a healthy mind and a healthy body, well, if your friends are doing behaviors that will destroy their body, does that mean you have to follow them? Does that mean you have to cut them out of your life? No. You can choose. You can do these things. If you want to smoke or drink or eat junk food or be lazy and not exercise, that's fine. You can still be my friend. That's not going to affect our friendship. But if you demand that I do the same things, then we have a problem. And if you can't accept me with my different beliefs, then I guess we are at a crossroads, and I've just decided, do I want to destroy my body the way you're destroying your body, or destroy my mind? If you become involved in some sort of political movement or some sort of ideology. Do I have to do that as well? Well, these days with these echo chamber type people, yeah, if you don't subscribe to their way of thinking, they don't want to have anything to do with you a lot of times. So you're faced with a dilemma. Do I decide to give up my way of thinking and adopt their way of thinking, or do I decide to stay true to myself? You should figure out what their thinking method is, test it against your own. If there's something good about their method, adopt it, add it to your own. If it's all good, you can drop your own or any of the other things we spoke about. Anyway, this video is getting long. Ultimately, you're not your job, you're not your clothes, you're not your wealth, you're not your religion, you're not your thoughts. Your essence persists, but you have to drop these things to observe what you truly are. And that way, you won't be controlled and you won't be manipulated by being happy or sad based on frivolous things that aren't really part of your essence. Anyway, till next time, who loves you, baby? This guy. Remember, if you're going through tough times, I enjoy having you here. You're somebody's favorite person in this world, probably mine. And yeah, till next time, goodbye. Love you.